Good evening. Welcome to MÁS CON MAS. I am your guest, Raúl Mas Canosa, here with my co-host, Andres Albuquerque.
Good evening.
Thank you for being with us this evening on ENTV USA from the studios of Cachita Universal Studios in Miami, Florida, makers of Cachita coffee that you well know in the supermarkets.
And by courtesy of Longevity International, which is a leader in the segments of family, sports, leisure time, and so many others.
Wonderful vitamins and supplements available through them. We've got an interesting program tonight. Obviously, a lot of news on the international stage. No question that perhaps the most important news this week has been the ongoing riots and disturbances and protests all throughout the U.S. A number of cities basically, targeted specifically by folks for looting and damages and whatnot. Horrible images that we've been watching on television. Obviously not something that anybody in their right mind cares for, but very turbulent times that we're living in. Andres, what is your view of what's been going on throughout the United States? Obviously, all of this is a result of the murder of George Floyd.
The killing.
The killing of George Floyd. And, what strikes me about this is, when George Floyd was basically killed by that police officer in Minneapolis, I think the condemnation was universal, man. I mean, there was no question whether you were white, black, Asian American, whatever your nationality or color of your skin, anybody watching that film is basically watching somebody getting killed needlessly by a police officer. So I think the condemnation was universal. Okay?
That's the reason for the riots.
Yeah, obviously, but the riots is one thing.
The unanimity is the reason for the riots. It's not the killing. The fact that we all, right, left, middle, center, moderates, extremists, all America for the first time, and follow this reasoning, and you'll agree with me. I think this is the first time, tell me if I'm wrong, in decades that everybody in America agree on something. Am I wrong?
No, listen, I think you're right in that respect.
They couldn't take this, so they organized the riots.
Absolutely, but, the riots, you don't organize riots. I mean, riots by their very definition are disorganized.
You trigger them. You trigger them.
I think
disorganized, and they even canceled the license plates.
Well,
disorganized.
I think we have a situation where there was a horrible tragedy occurred. Okay?
Of course,
and,
no doubt.
and the protests were very justified. Okay, and
the peaceful protests.
I think that there is universal agreement as well.
Sure.
That in America we have a right to protest. We have a right to petition our government for redress of grievances. I mean, that is in our founding documents, right?
Thank God we do.
But what is unfortunate is that in many cases, not just a few, but in many cases, these riots have then basically turned into situations where you've had widespread looting going on. You've had outside groups that have basically taken advantage of that.
Foreign interests.
Foreign interests involved in basically figuring out a way to hurt our country. And I think that is what has so many people upset in America.
Let me ask you.
Is the images of these streets being burned down and buildings being looted.
Let me ask you a question. Have any riots taken place in Beverly Hills that you know of?
Actually, there's been some riots in some of the luxury stores in L.A.
I'm talking about Beverly Hills, where they live.
Of course not. I mean, look,
Come on, man. A revolution goes everywhere, burns everything. Have they been in those zip codes of West Manhattan?
Of course not. But, it gets back. Then the question is, why is it, okay?
Why the poor neighborhoods? Why the black businesses? Yeah, some Saks, some Fifth Avenues, but basically the middle class, the lower class business, the bodegas of New York, the poor people, black community businesses. Why?
Makes no sense, huh?
If this is a revolution of the poor against the rich, hello, what about Beverly Hills?
Listen, it makes no sense. There's a lot of things about this whole situation, and I don't just mean this particular moment in time, but to your point, what is tragic about this is that the very people that are protesting the death of George Floyd are then turning around and burning down their own neighborhoods.
They're killing him again because they're burying the death of this human being amongst lines and lines and paragraphs of news. So his name is fading away from the discussion and the so-called conversation that they have promised us for years and has never happened.
What do you think of the commentary by Candace Owens, who basically came out with a very controversial video in basically, I think it's called, I do not support George Floyd. And, her point was that, George Floyd had a criminal record, a criminal past, and that therefore the community should not, put him up on a pedestal. But I think she's missing the point that, as far as I can tell, nobody's ever said that George Floyd was this perfect human being, was this hero. I think it's been pretty evident. The guy had a criminal past. In fact, he'd been convicted of aggravated assault back in 2007. He may or may not have had drugs with him when he was stopped. But I think all of that is irrelevant because no matter what an individual's background is, once you have that suspect restrained and under control, no police officer has the right to be judge, jury, and executioner
Let me tell you
all
something.
at once.
Not even bin Laden should have been treated like that. Not even Osama bin Laden should have been treated like that. I'm a staunch supporter of Candace Owens. I like the woman a lot. I think she's smart. I think she's brilliant. I would support her for any public office she would run for. But I think in this one, she botched. And I tell you what, she'd hurt herself, mark my words. If she's running for something, this is going to come back to haunt her. Because at this point, and I'm not saying she is, but at this point, the perception for those who hate her anyway and are waiting anxiously, lurking in the dark for her first mistake, she has come across as one of Trump's pets, rather than an independent, articulate black woman that she indeed is. I think she made a gross mistake. There's nothing she can do to get out of this. There's no apologies to be made. She just have to hope that this somehow goes away. And like you said, to your point, the guy could have been anything. That is irrelevant in terms of a policeman who's supposed to defend all of us, killing a human being. Forget about the color now.
Listen, I think there's still a lot to come out there. I mean, apparently this police officer and George Floyd had worked together at a club or something. There may be all sorts of stuff coming out after this that may have implications that this was not just race related. These guys could have had a fight with each other before.
They could have a bitch.
So there's a lot going on here, but. Look, it's unfortunate that this has all happened. It's been going on for years, and the irony is that sometimes perception doesn't really match with reality, because if you look at the numbers, and this you can look this up on the Washington Post. They keep an archive of shootings by police officers every year. Last year there were 9 unarmed black men that were killed by police officers. I think there were 19 white people.
Yeah.
So I reject the premise that this is some sort of
of war on black people. Come on.
War on black people.
No.
That this is pandemic. This is systemic. And I think, look, man, we've made a lot of progress in this country since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We've had affirmative action. We've had billions or trillions of dollars spent on social programs to help the African American community progress.
Have they helped them? Because Jamal's still in the hood, is still on drugs, still living on food stamps.
I think that's we talk about wanting to have a conversation. I think the conversation should go both ways.
It's way overdue. Because
why is it that a minority of individuals in this country, basically young black men, are responsible for, over 40% of the violent crime that takes place in America? So you want to have that conversation? Let's have that conversation.
Let's have it fairly,
but
honestly,
let's have it out in the open. Let's discuss this thing, and candidly. Yeah. We've had a black president in the United States.
He did nothing to start this.
Well, but if that doesn't mark racial progress in America, I don't know what does.
No, they would tell you that the powers that be put him there to face. Come on, man. The enemy will use anything against us, and in the end, they would end up using those people they claim to defend.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
Well, look, there's a lot to talk about. The other issue that has me deeply troubled is seeing you know, the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, who I happen to know personally. In fact, I worked for the guy for about a year when he was the Secretary of the Army.
Be careful then.
Very sharp guy. Very. I think his heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
But you know, having to sort of push back against the President of the United States, cautioning him that, you know what, the use of active military troops is not something that is commonplace in America. I mean, the president has an enormous amount of power in this situation, but I think it's in the president's best interest, and I think that's what Secretary Esper was doing, to remind him that you know what, there are uses for active military troops, and one of those uses should not necessarily be putting down protests in America or riots in America. That's not what they're trained for. That's not what they're there for. We are far from a civil war or an insurrection in this country.
And he's probably right, but I would have done that privately.
Probably. You know, you could say the same thing about.
He probably did it. He probably did it privately, and
well, no, he did a press conference at the Department of Defense, and that was obviously part of a prepared speech.
I guess we gotta go.
He wanted that to come out in public. Listen, we've got a lot to cover. We've got a fantastic guest coming up in the form of Christian Manguera Becia, who's running for District 11. We've got to go to a commercial break. Thank you for being with us here on MÁS CON MAS.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
More and more healthcare professionals and people seeking alternative and natural health treatments are turning to hemp-based products because of the growing body of research supporting its benefits. Longevity has leveraged our years of natural plant-based nutritional research to introduce 3 new products. Hemp FX Soothe helps support muscles and joints by enhancing a healthy immune response and reducing free radical stress. For optimal results, it contains our hemp-derived CBD plus the powerful antioxidant glutathione. Hemp FX Relax helps ease the mind and the body for a deep and restful sleep. We combined our hemp-derived CBD with melatonin to help support your best night's sleep. To help support positive energy for your mind and your mood, we created Hemp FX Uplift. In combination with St. John's wort and a specialized set of terpenes and cannabinoid enhancers. To learn more about Hemp FX, contact your Longevity distributor or visit hempfx.com.
Welcome back to MÁS CON MAS. I am your host, Raúl Mas, again here with Andrés Albuquerque. And we have a very special guest for you this evening. His name is Cristian Mancera Mejia, a young man who is running for the Miami-Dade County Commission, District 11. That seat is currently held by Joe Martinez. I had the opportunity to meet Christian several months ago in a conversation that we had at a local newspaper here in town, and I was very impressed by this young man, very sharp, very intelligent, and I wanted to have him on the program tonight because I think he represents a lot of the young blood and energy that, quite frankly, we need if we're to move this community forward.
Way overdue.
Absolutely, way overdue. Christian, welcome to the program. Thank you for being here this evening. Why don't we start off and just tell us a little bit about your background and what motivated you to run for District 11?
Well, thank you, first of all, for that introduction. I appreciate it, and I also have a lot of respect for you and all the things you've done for the community, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys and being able to discuss who I am and why I'm running.
Sure.
My background, I am a Colombian lawyer who lives here in Miami, Florida. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've been living here in South Florida for the past 12 years, and in these years, I have noticed the need of new leadership, new ideas in order to bring our city, our community into a different, stage of the 21st century in which we can grow hand in hand with the community, involved in the community in the decisions that we make, and that we have real compromises that are met and not what happens regularly that during the campaign season, there's a lot of compromises, but then when most of these leaders arrive at the county commission, most of these compromises don't come to realize, basically because there's no compromise and the community is not invited sometimes, I'm not going to say generally, but sometimes to participate the way they should. And I think part of my proposal is that I want to grow a district that it's inclusive, where everybody has their voice heard, and I will be the person bringing that voice to the county commission.
Excellent. Let me ask you something. What do you view as sort of the primary challenges that are facing those of us that live here in Miami-Dade County? I mean, for me, the traffic nightmare that we face is obviously, sort of towards the top of the list. But I'd like to hear your viewpoints. What do you consider to be the most critical items that we're facing as a community?
Well, I think that we have built a city and a county that is based primarily in downtown Miami, Brickell, and the area of Midtown. But we have forgotten other areas of the city that are very important for us. I think that the main issue where traffic comes into play, affordable housing comes into play, and other key issues are because we have most of the resources being invested in one area of the city, and we're not focusing on an overall plan where we actually build a city where every single incorporated area, every single urban area is included in a plan where everybody grows. If we focus only in these central areas where the money is, or where, and we have a big example, we have about $1 billion that goes into Miami-Dade from these areas where I live, where my community is at, and we get very little from it. We get about 15% of it. So at the end of the day, the amount of money that is put in to Miami-Dade and the amount of money that these areas get back for development, social projects, cultural projects is very little, because also we haven't had the leadership to go out to the county and say, you know what, we have these projects, we would like the funding for them and to fight for them. I think this is the biggest challenge there, because I think in the past we haven't had that type of leadership, and we have had a continuous plan and leadership based on roads, tolls, and not really concrete solutions to problems that we need to resolve immediately. And what you're saying is mass transit is a problem that we have. We need to come to a solution in which we provide and I have a plan for that also, but if we do not focus on an overall idea of Miami-Dade and how we can grow with everybody involved, and if we continue focusing only in one area of the city, then we're going to continue seeing places where people have to drive 2 hours to get to their jobs, and we have to stop that idea that the only place in town where things go on is in downtown Miami or in Miami Beach. We need to be able
Christian,
to develop these areas.
For the benefit of our audience, can you give us an idea of the boundaries of District 11, what municipalities it encompasses, so that people understand what part of the county we're talking about?
No problem. So this District 11 starts at 137th Avenue Southwest here in Miami-Dade, and it goes all the way down to 152nd Street in the southwest of Miami-Dade. It goes all the way down to Chrome, but it goes beyond that. It goes into the swamp, the Everglades. And then it goes all the way down through Chrome to 8th Street, which is a Miami Trail. And then you turn right and you go all the way down to 107th Avenue, which is in the FIU area. Mm-hmm. And that whole area also is part of the district. And it's a very interesting district because it compiles a bunch of areas, but there are no incorporated areas in this part.
What are the neighborhoods that are encompassed in District 11?
Excuse me?
What are the neighborhoods that District 11 encompasses? What would we recognize them as?
We have West Kendall, we have Miami, we have all the area of Coral Way, and basically Front City, the area of Coral Way, FIU, sure. And all these areas of the Miami Trail. That's basically the neighborhoods that we have, and all the surrounding areas between 137th Avenue, Kendall Drive, towards the Chrome Avenue as well.
Christian, what about relationship between the citizenry and the law enforcement?
Well, here in this area, we have very nice community areas, safe zones. But this is a very interesting question that you are posting, because one of my plans is to continue to build relationships and bridges with the police officers and our community. I do not want to see a district where we are completely disconnected. And I think that once we're able to move forward into an idea where community understands the enormous contributions that police officers do to our community and that they make to our community, and at the same time that we as a community can participate in building those relationships, brigades, where we actually help the police bring our community to a safe zone, to a safe area. I think that allows us to have a better relationship moving forward. As I am aware right now, the relationships are not that strong. There is a relationship. The police is involved, but I think if we were to have the opportunity to reach the Miami-Dade County Commission, we're going to bring that type of relationship where we have the police department being involved with the community, and I think that would send a very strong message, not only that the police is not alone, but that we as community, as the community stakeholders, we're able to take control of our own destinies, and helping the police do their job is part of one of those objectives.
Christian, I have a suggestion, and I would like you, as a citizen, not as a politician, just as a regular citizen who's concerned, I have a suggestion, and I would like to get you on board on this. What about creating a liaison commission in every city, no more than 5 citizens, pro bono, non-pay, no salary, that meets every week with the mayor and the police commissioner / sheriff / whatever you want to call him,
okay,
or her, and convey whatever grievances, concerns the population may have, and then get back to the community. What about that?
Well, that fits into the plan that we have. I think that the only way to have good governance is by listening to the community, and by having these town halls or these meetings that you're suggesting is part of our plan of building bridges between the community and those in power. That allows everybody to be involved. That allows the community to be heard, and every single person who is involved in getting things done to understand what the community really needs. I think the basic problem that we have had for the past, 20 or 30 years is that we have had a disconnection between what the leaders are doing and the elected officials are doing and thinking, and also what the community really needs. And that is clearly seen in how our roads are being built, the priorities that have been set for the past 20 years. And I think that if we become more understanding that Miami-Dade has changed and is continuously evolving into a different county and city, I think we'll be able to understand that involving, being inclusive, and understanding what people want is a way to move forward. If you listen, for example, the other day I was walking the street and I stumbled upon a gentleman. He was waiting for a bus. He spent probably about 35, 40 minutes waiting for that bus under extreme heat. And I had a conversation with him with the proper social distancing. And we had a conversation where he basically expressed that he was extremely frustrated because, like, he had lost his car. He had to sell his car because he had no other choice. He was using the public transport. And then I asked him, so how did it go for you? Like, I mean, is it a good experience? And he said, not really, because I have to wait here. I have to take the sun. And, like, the way the bus, like, comes, like, the schedules, they're not so constant. This was his basic complaint. And for me, that's one of my main priorities, like building mass transit corridors with like bus rapid transit, like this, like Metro bus, where we can actually have smart stations along Kendall Drive and Killian, where we can actually get people to take the bus in a more frequent way, and also allow like people to leave their car at home and they can connect with the Metro Rail in Dayland. And we can begin to like get this district from the, I guess, the, I don't know, forgotten road and make it a beacon of light. When I say a beacon of light, it's because I want people to look at this area and not, as we do now, we only look to the east, but we don't look to the west. And I think that if we're able to like pay attention to these areas to promote culture within this area, I mean, this area is really interesting because we have a lot of Cubans, Venezuelans, Colombians, and Central Americans, and obviously a lot of Anglo Americans here. But the main idea is that if we can create something that it's like interesting for people to come and see here, but also for the community to enjoy here, they don't have to drive 2 hours away. We're talking about like creating a lot of jobs in the way, building opportunities for a lot of companies to come to West Kendall and to Pan Miami and to the FIU area to get the university involved also in this development of this project. Because if you see, in the past, we had the idea of creating like an incorporated area that failed for many reasons. But if we're able to get like the best of that idea without doing it and getting people's attention into this area and promoting like culture, promoting like jobs, promoting industry in this area in a very smart and efficient way, we can turn District 11 to a beacon of light. Sure. It's just that we need the leadership to see that. And sometimes you don't need a lot of money to get these things done. All you need is like ideas, community, participation, and to get the leadership to get those projects through the commission. And I think that we have the ability to do it and the leadership to do it. We just need everybody to understand that we cannot continue to elect the same people over and over again. And that's part of my proposal. I am a young person, but I'm also a person who is ready to lead, educated. I understand the needs of the community. And part of listening, what you're saying, having these meetings with people and the community is what this campaign is all about. Like, I'm walking the streets and I'm like going out there, talking to people, to business owners, and I'm telling them, hey, I want to run, I'm running, I want to be your commissioner. Give me an opportunity and I will not disappoint. And I think that we need to be able to empower other young leaders around the county in order for us to achieve a complete turnaround of how we see the city. And by the way, people cannot be mistaken with the idea that young means only like people like me or younger than me. We have to be able to talk to people who are older, but who have a young mindset in their heads. And they have an idea of saying, you know what, we're going to move forward. It's like a campaign of saying yes to things that will work, but not the idea that has been going on for the past 20 years, that everything you propose or everything the community wants, there's a no, always, no. And we want to stop that.
One thing that strikes me, that we've seen during this whole pandemic is, how effective this new technology that we have, these Zoom meetings, Skype, whatever, in order to bring people together. So, the meetings that Andres is sort of talking about, you don't necessarily have to have them in person, right? I mean, you can just agree, hey, listen, once a week, we're all going to hop on Zoom and we're going to have a conversation about, what took place in our neighborhood this past week, the good, the bad, and the ugly type of stuff. And I think, in particular, your generation, younger folks are very comfortable with that technology. And some of us dinosaurs, like myself and Andres, have
just stuck for you.
We have stubbornly, adapted
We're
to
hanging
it.
in there.
We're hanging in there. We sort of hold our own. But I think that's one thing that has been, quite frankly, underutilized by the county. I mean, you talk about, the idea that here we are in the 21st century, and you've got, a gentleman on the street, sitting in the sun, having no idea, when that next bus is going to come by. In my mind, it's just ridiculous, man. I mean, that person should be in the shade. There should be a little monitor there that basically has, a schedule of when the next bus, will arrive. I mean, we can do that oftentimes. I mean, I can do that in Coral Gables, with an app on my cell phone in terms of when the trolley's coming back. We should have that all throughout the county to make it easy for people that are waiting for a bus to know when that next bus is going to come by. And if that person doesn't have a cell phone, there should be an inexpensive monitor there giving them a rundown of when that's going to happen.
Can I be the voice of cynicism here?
Sure.
In the area that he described, there's a lot of car dealers there.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of pushback, trying not to get anything better for public transportation because they want to sell their cars.
Well, listen, that whole industry is changing too, Andres. You know this, man.
I know.
But I mean, you guys are on target, and one of the things that I want to build and propose to the community is what I call smart bus stations or smart stations, which
right.
It's kind of like having a little, facility where the bus will come, and this is part of the BRT proposal, bus rapid transit, where we're not going to build something that big because our community, I don't think we'll support that. But if we are able to develop with what we have and the resources that we have, small changes to the way we treat our citizens and the quality of life they have, I am sure that many people would definitely prefer to take the bus if they're able to use it. I'll give you an example. I took a trip last year, and I arrived at Fort Lauderdale International Airport. I took the train from there all the way down to MIA. Then I went to Metrorail, and I went all the way down to Dayland. It took me about roughly 45 to an hour to do that whole thing. And when I got down from that, and then I took an Uber from Dayland all the way here to my house here in the hammocks, I realized, why is it that we don't have a BRT waiting for us, like on Kendall Drive, to take the transportation all the way down? So, I like Uber, and it's perfect, but what I'm trying to say is that usually people begin to propose a lot of things that are like, oh my God, this costs a lot of money, and we cannot do it. Yes, we can do it. We just need to use the resources that we have at hand, and we have a lot of them, at hand. And in order for us to move forward in terms of transportation, affordable housing, in terms of cultural development, and by the way, and allowing the build of community areas where the community can gather and have fun, entertainment, and so forth. All of that requires is just a proposal, having a community meeting where we actually listen to what they want. We take the proposal to the county commission, and we just find the money. And I think that in some cases, many developers would be actually interested in participating in doing something like that, because it would bring them revenue and jobs. And it's just it's common sense. It's just that I think that we haven't been able to get that leadership in place. And that's part of one of my proposals, building these transportation corridors, building smart stations. And in the end, it's quality of life. If you provide quality of life to your community, you're able to provide affordable housing, entrepreneur hubs, and also allow people to stay within our community, which is one of my objectives. And turning West Day or West Kendall into a beacon of light, as I have been saying.
Yeah, listen, I think those are all fantastic ideas. I think the use of technology can help us enormously. I agree with you. We don't have to spend tons of money. We just need fresh ideas and fresh leadership. I appreciate you taking on the challenge and stepping up to the plate. We need more young people like yourself stepping forward and running for county commission and other jobs here in South Florida. Thank you, Christian, for being with us. Hope to have you in another segment sometime soon as we get into the race. And good luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, David. For me, it's a pleasure to be with you guys, and it's an honor. And I'm excited to be able to explain a little bit of my platform to the community, and I look forward to being on your show.
Terrific. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you again for being with us here on MÁS CON MAS. We'll be right back on ENTV USA from the studios of Cachita Universal Studios.
Our NTV USA platform has its own smartphone applications. If you're operating on Android, please make sure to go to the Play Store, search up NTV USA, hit download and install. If you're operating on iPhone or any other kind of iOS operating system, please go to the App Store, search up NTV USA, hit download and install. It's simple, it's easy, but most of all, it's comfortable. There, you'll find notifications to all of our programming so that you can follow us and keep up with all of our shows. And every single announcement that we make here at NTV USA, under every single program, you'll find a link that with a single click will take you directly to the smartphone applications. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy our programming. Stay tuned, stay connected, enjoy a nice cup of coffee. And remember, con una vista, basta.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Javalution, este exquisito y delicioso café que está de moda. Para relajarse, Javalution.
Javalution, el mejor café con CBD. Lo encuentras en todas las tiendas.
House Blend, Dark Rose, Donut Shop en Fresh Vanilla. Tenemos 4 sabores para que usted escoja y es para todos.
Recuerde, Javalution, el mejor café con CBD.
Cardio Beats from Youngevity supports a healthy cardiovascular system and helps supply the nutrients your body needs to support better physical endurance. Your capacity to last a little longer is largely based on how well your cardiovascular system expends oxygen and circulates blood through your body. Cardio Beats helps combat the oxidative stress caused by physical activity by supplying you with key nutrients that support your cardiovascular system. These nutrients have also been shown to help improve endurance. Cardio Beats starts with organic beets, a rich source of nitrates to support healthy blood flow and oxygen transport. We've added whole foods from highly bioavailable seaweed and mango fruit, both known for blood flow support, and antioxidant-rich sweet cherries. Then, for even more heart health benefits, we finished it off with key amino acids. Take your physical endurance to the next level with Cardio Beats. Talk to your Youngevity associate for more information.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Youngevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients. Plus, prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back to MÁS CON MAS. I'm here with my co-host, Andres Albuquerque. Andres, who were talking before that interesting interview with Christian.
It was great.
About what was going on in America, the riots, the looting, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you know, we've heard this word Antifa, you know, over and over again. I'm hoping to have in next week's program a gentleman that I've known for a long period of time who I consider to be a subject matter expert on Antifa.
Sure.
But it surprised me this week that so many people, you know, were suddenly awakened to the fact that anytime there is a riot in America, there seem to be organizers from outside that come to these riots and take advantage of them to create the chaos that we're seeing in our streets today. It's been well known for a long period of time by law enforcement professionals throughout the United States, in municipalities and state governments, and obviously at the federal level, that there are some actors out there, especially Antifa and other anarchist groups, some right-wing groups as well, that are basically anxious to foment anarchy and revolution in America. You know, we saw it on Wall Street, you know, when there were those protests on Wall Street, you know, the resistance. All of this stuff just doesn't happen overnight. I mean, this is planned activities, it's organized. I think one of the good things that came out of the fact that President Trump has now labeled Antifa as a terrorist group is that, guess what? From now on, their conversations are going to be monitored, their movements are going to be tracked, okay? Once you're labeled as a terrorist group, the gloves come off, my friend, and Uncle Sam now is going to be investigating exactly what is going on in Antifa. It is no longer subject to the same civil protections that they had before, and I think we're going to see some very interesting things come out of this.
Even though he has a couple of legal hurdles here and there.
Sure.
I mean, he can declare what he wants, but thank God this country has laws, so he has to jump off a few hurdles.
Yeah.
I hope he makes it, but even if they don't, I mean, the FBI can spy pretty much, including the president or the president-to-be, as we all know.
As we all find out.
If they really want to do the job, it's important to make sure, and all spectators realize once and for all, that there are foreign interests here. They have caught allegedly elements of the Cuban junta, of the Venezuela's government. So this is an international plot. I mean, the quarterbacking was so swift and effective that it cannot be spontaneous.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Yeah. You and I together in our kitchen tables cannot set up this movement.
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, you see it in these pallets of bricks that mysteriously have appeared.
Were placed in the right places.
In areas where the riots were taking place. I mean, it's like you're bringing the fires to an area where it's already doused in gasoline.
Sure.
And basically bringing the fires to set them on fire. Absolutely incredible and atrocious. Now, the good news this week is that to a certain extent, it appears, at least in the news that we've seen this morning, starting this morning, the latest unemployment numbers, that we created 2.5 million jobs this past month. The unemployment rate that was at the official unemployment rate that was at 14.7% at the end of April has now gone down to 13.5%. Now, the president this afternoon came out basically...
He was very happy. He was so happy.
Very happy, claiming victory.
It was festive.
I think, quite frankly, it's a little bit premature to be claiming victory at this point.
No victory lap so far.
Absolutely. But I think that you know, this was obviously good news. The markets have reacted very positively, you know, up 900 points, whatever it was, the final figure. But... you know, we've seen a tremendous sort of, you know, positive news this morning.
Yep.
And I think hopefully we can continue that. I think as we're going into the summer, you know, we're beginning to see that death rate slowly decline, very few new cases. Even though with all these riots, you've seen
you never know what's going to happen.
Social distancing has gone out the window.
Social distancing
the masks
only
have
for voting
disappeared.
and going to the beach, but if you go to a
The
riot,
masks have
nobody
disappeared
cares.
completely, you know, so who knows what the effect of that is going to be. In fact, I've seen where some of the rioters have tested positive now for COVID-19. It's natural. You're in this area with everybody, you know, hanging around each other and walking arm in arm,
get
whatever.
other people sick too. Now, you remember Bill Clinton used to say, "Is the economy stupid?" Now the slogan should be, "The economy is stubborn," because it refuses to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so strong that in the middle of a pandemic, domestic terrorism, riots and everything, still there.
Yeah.
I mean,
now, you know, the reason I say we're not out of the woods, because the other piece of news this morning, you know, Macy's closing, I think, 150 plus stores throughout the United States. Now, you know, some of those big retailers were in trouble, you know, before the pandemic hit. And this is, to a certain extent, is just, it may have happened anyway without the pandemic. But the truth of the matter is, look, you know, we've had, you know, an enormous amount of Americans, you know, out of work. I think this has affected small businesses enormously, much more so than, you know, the big companies, the airlines, you know, that receive their own specific bailout packages.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take some time. I mean, you know, but the interesting thing about the numbers that we saw this morning, you know, those 2.5 million jobs that came back, a lot of them came back in the restaurant industry, in the travel and entertainment business, in the construction business. You know, a lot of those small jobs that were hard hit, and a lot of those industries, in particular restaurants and dining establishments that were hit, they started to come back. So I see that as a very positive sign. Let's hope that we can continue that trend upwards.
I mean, this may be naive, but this is in the midst of all this division, of this bickering. For the first time, the president said that he was grateful to the Democrats because they had, the voting in this case was pretty much unanimous, that he welcomed cooperation for the Democrats and that he hoped they could cooperate in the future because these years have been terrible. Okay, whether he's right or he is wrong, the truth is that there's been a lot of division, a lot of infighting, a lot of bickering. So can you imagine our economy and our country if we were united? That is a good question for you watching out there. Yeah. Can you imagine if we were united? And we don't have to believe in the same thing. We can still agree to disagree. But do we have to fight one another this way?
Yeah. Look at what's happened just in the last couple of months. This horrible pandemic. On top of that, you know, the reaction that basically shut down our economy and put tens of millions of Americans out of work. And now these riots, you know, going into the summer, and the protests, the death of George Floyd, the protests, the riots. I mean, you talk about a horrible year. I mean, 2020 is not exactly going to be a spectacular year. And there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen with the presidential election. I mean, the Republican National Convention.
They want us to vote by mail.
Yeah, the Republican National Convention is apparently no longer going to take place in North Carolina. In fact, it may come here to Florida. Mm-hmm. They're talking about hosting it either in Orlando or in Jacksonville. But, you know, there are a lot of things going on. Obviously, a lot of this turmoil has benefited, I think, Joe Biden. I think once again we've seen, you know, President Trump.
Even though he said today that 15% of the American population are bad people, that means that 50 million of us are the wrong kind of person. But anyway,
at least a whole bunch of us are deplorable.
First he said I'm not black. Now he says I'm deplorable. Anyway,
so anyway, look, there's. We're living in interesting times. Let's put it that way.
Very interesting.
Very interesting times, and we'll see what happens this summer. But this number this morning, in terms of the 2.5 million jobs added, and the reaction of the stock market, as I've mentioned on many times, you know, the stock market. One thing you can rely on the stock market is that the people that are basically putting their money where their mouth is, by and large, are rational investors.
Yeah, they're not political.
They're not political. Democrats and Republicans, you know, they park their partisanship at the door when it comes to their pocketbook and when it comes to investing money and investing in America. And I think anytime you see the stock market sort of come back, I think yesterday we were up 600 or 700 points. Today we're up 900 points. That is a very, very strong comeback. And, you know, quite frankly, I think was unexpected.
We're almost back to where we were.
You know, we're at 27,000 plus. You know, we were at 30,000 before this whole mess began. We had dropped down, I think, to around 19,000 or just below 19,000. Sure. So a lot of that, the earnings that were sucked out of, or I should say the appreciation that was sucked out of the stock market has basically come back.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
Because it was artificial. It was forced. It was not a downfall of the economy. The fundamentals are still there.
Correct. I mean, you know, exactly right. I mean, this was not, you know, the market did not collapse because of economic fundamentals. The market collapsed because we had this pandemic, and the United States government, starting with President Trump, made a conscientious decision because
to shut it down.
To shut it down, because you recall when Fauci and Dr. Birx were first talking about the numbers of people that could die as a result of this crisis, we're talking about millions of people. That was the numbers that were being uttered out of the White House.
World War II. And it doesn't mean that we don't care for those who die. I mean, it's still a huge number.
Sure.
One dead American is one too many, to be clear.
Now, you could look at it two different ways. Either they were wrong or they were right, and the measures worked, and now instead of having 2 million, we have 100,000 dead in America.
I think their mission was to scare us a little, so that we took the measure. Because, you know, governments are very small and very pachydermist. So they probably put a lot of pressure. They probably were scared themselves. And it worked. Mm-hmm. You know what? It worked.
Yeah. But look, regardless, you know, we seem to be coming out of that pandemic. The other good news, which I enjoyed, was seeing the astronauts launch into the International Space Station, you know, for the very first time, and for the first time in 9 years, I should say, since 2012 or 2011, I believe it was, the last space shuttle, the last space shot with the Space Shuttle Endeavour. We now have American astronauts who were sent to the International Space Station.
America.
Launched from American soil on an American spacecraft. Another good highlight of what's going on in America. And, you know, we have to see now what's, you know, we're still living, as I mentioned, in turbulent times. There's a lot of problems throughout the world. We saw today, or last night, I should say, in Hong Kong.
They released Mr. White from an Iranian prison.
That's right.
The former Marine.
We saw in Hong Kong, the people of Hong Kong basically ignored the government's desire to shut down the vigil that they had for Tiananmen Square every year. They, in fact, had their remembrance ceremony for Tiananmen, which the Chinese communists were not pleased to see.
Are we going to brain drain it, or no?
I don't know what's going to happen. You know, the Boris Johnson's basically said he's going to issue visas to 3 million people from Hong Kong.
We are too.
And I hope the U.S. president follows that same line of thinking. I mean,
let's brain drain them.
Hong Kong folks are very smart, very intelligent, very hardworking, and they appreciate democracy, and we continue to see that happening in Hong Kong. So one other thing I want to talk about, which is important, you know, today is Friday, June 5th. Tomorrow, Saturday, is June 6th. And tomorrow, June 6th, in the year 1944, was the Allied invasion of the beaches of Normandy, France, and the beginning of the liberation of Europe from Nazi rule.
A milestone in history.
A milestone, America's so-called greatest generation, perhaps their most shining moment, if you will.
American brightest hour.
Absolutely, and absolutely changed the course of history, brought freedom to the European continent, got rid of Hitler, got rid of Mussolini, got rid of fascism in Europe. And basically has restored Europe to a Western democracy continent, if you will, and all that happened because 76 years ago on the beaches of Normandy, American troops, British troops, Canadian troops, Polish troops, French liberators, French resistance, all landed on the beaches of Normandy or parachuted into Normandy. And began sort of pushing Hitler's forces out of France and back towards Germany, across the Rhine, and where they were eventually defeated. The Russians were coming in from the east and basically putting enormous pressure on Hitler as well. And that sort of pincer attack from both ends really compressed the Nazis and caused the fall of the Nazi regime and really changed the course of history. Afterwards, the Marshall Plan came along and helped rebuild Europe. And we're now seeing the benefits of that. And NATO was created to protect Europe from future intrusions on the part of the Soviet Union and continue to keep Europe free. So a lot of history going on this week, both bad in terms of what we're seeing here in America, both good in terms of what we've seen with the space shuttle launch.
But we will prevail.
Good in terms of celebrating again, the victory of Allied forces in Europe back in 1944. And, hopefully we'll have some more good news this summer. Let's hope that the worst is behind us. Let's keep a positive attitude. Let's remember that regardless of whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we are all Americans first and foremost. You cut me as a white person, you cut you as a African American, I shouldn't say African American, Cuban American.
I don't exist.
Cuban
I don't even
American.
exist.
Cuban American, Afro-Cuban, Caribbean, whatever. We all bleed red, right, brother?
You bet.
We all bleed
You
red,
bet.
and that's what matters. And that's the reason why America is the great country that it is. It's a melting pot. It always has been. We are certainly not the most perfect country in the world.
Of course not.
But I've traveled throughout this globe, and I can tell you, boy, I'd rather live here than most any
Anywhere
place
else.
else. Where I'm able to sort of say what I think and what
And think what you say.
and think what I say, and be able to think freely and speak freely is something that we often take for granted, and we shouldn't.
And there's always a sigh of relief whenever you pass that border and the guy says, or the lady says, welcome home. You feel like,
Absolutely.
I'm
back
back.
to the United States of America. So
Okay.
thank you again for being on this program. We appreciate your spending time with us here on Más con Más, brought to you by ENTV USA from the studios of Cachita Universal Studios. On behalf of my host, Andres Albuquerque, and myself, Raúl Mas, I thank you for being here tonight and look forward to seeing you again next Friday, 9 p.m. on Más con Más here on ENTV USA. Thank you for being with us.
See
Have
you
a good evening, a wonderful weekend.
see you next week.
Este programa es patrocinado por Café Cachita, el mejor para compartir.